The best way to get better at programming is to practice. And in this example, we're going to look at a couple of different things, namely commenting. As always, this file is available for download from the link provided below. You can pause the video, try it on your own, or follow along. All right, so let's get started. So the first thing I want to talk about is creating what's known as a C-style comment. This type of comment was available in C, and it starts off with a slash and a asterisk. And it can be as long or as short as you want it to be. So I've seen it where it's used to comment out part of a line, one line, or multiple lines. In fact, you see that up at the top. It must have the star and the slash at the end in order to end it. It doesn't matter if it's one line like this, or we split up over multiple lines like that. The C-style comment works. There's also a C++ style. So C++ can use the comments from C because everything that works in C works in C++. However, they did add a single line style comment. Anything that's after this comment gets ignored by the compiler. So I can start off a line, for example here, int x, and then write out a comment. Nothing after those two forward slashes will be recognized by the compiler. So if I come in here and try to say int y, notice that it is still green and commented out. So this has zero effect if I try to use it. So comments are very important. They're often left to do something like tell us what we need to do. They're often used to tell us what it is that we are currently doing and maybe explain it. Commenting will make your code more readable and will also make it so it's easier to understand if you have to come back to it in a few months. Now, simple little projects like this often you don't have to come back to, so you don't worry about it from that perspective, but real-world applications which you might be working on for literally years and maintaining it over years, those comments become very, very important to you. The next thing I want to talk about is spacing. So this is how the code was originally created. If I select it and paste it in, you notice that Visual Studio Code spaced it out for me. It put spaces on each side of any of my mathematical operands. Now we'll talk about what some of these are in upcoming videos. Don't worry about that. However, it's important to recognize the fact that, hey, having those spaces makes it easier to read. A lot of editors will put this in there for you automatically because they know it's easier to read. It makes it easier to find your variable names, make sure your variables are spelled correctly, as well as figure out what those actual values are. So I always like to put a space around anything that I can. It just makes it a whole lot easier to read. In C and C++, those spaces are basically ignored. So whether you have one space, one tab, 100 spaces, does not matter to C and C++. So you want to keep it so it's easy for you to read. A single space between each variable and each symbol is usually a smart idea. You'll notice at the end, the semicolon, however, there's not a space before it. That's because it's the ending character for a line of code, and you typically don't need it. If this has helped you and you want to continue to get better at programming in C and C++, please consider watching the rest of this series, as well as subscribing to the channel.